Well, some recent economic numbers came out that suggest that inflation in the United States has begun to cool. So that's apparently good news. But unfortunately, so many people are still feeling the effects of this cost of living crisis. So a lot of millennials, a lot of Gen Z are having difficulty trying to afford houses, much less afford food. And this is really showing up in a lot of people. So, anecdotally, a lot of people that I've been talking to, as far as clients, and then a lot of videos I've been seeing on YouTube and TikTok, a lot of people have been saying that it's getting very difficult to make ends meet. So, this got me thinking of this idea that I was raised with. I was born in the United States, and it was this idea of the American dream. And there was this idea of, as long as you're following the rules and you work hard, you'll be able to afford a house. You'll be able to go on your vacation once every year for 2 weeks, and you'll have this nice life, which is known as the American dream. Well, my question is the American dream dead? Is it over? Because it does seem like, especially for millennials, for the last couple of decades, it's just been crisis after crisis, and there really hasn't been any relief in sight from all of this. So today I'm going to be taking a look at the astrology chart of the USA, and we're going to talk about an important transit called Sade Sati. And I feel like we still have a lot of difficulty for the next couple of years. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. For those of you that are new to my channel, make sure you like and subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get all of my updates. I do videos on celebrities, the royal family. I do prediction videos, politicians, and even special videos like this where I'm talking about the USA chart. Also, if you're interested in a personal private reading, check down below for details. I am running a special endless summer discount if you use codename Thor at checkout for the month of July. So let's go ahead and take a look at the USA chart and just really answer this question, like, where do we see, especially the USA, in the next couple of years? Now, this might actually include a lot of the Western world. So when I'm doing this reading, just realize that, most of the world still does, is backed by US dollars. And this does affect, just like the 2008 financial crisis affected a lot of the world. And by the way, disclaimer: astrology is for entertainment purposes only. Seek advice, from a professional advisor. All right, so let's take a look. Now, one of the things I want to point out is that Saturn is in the sign of Aquarius right now. It's actually retrograde at the moment, but it started its transit through the sign of Aquarius in January of 2023. And it's going to be in Aquarius till March of 2025. Okay. So this is how long this transit through Aquarius is going to last, for another couple years, essentially. And when Saturn is going over the moon of your chart, or in this case, the USA chart, it represents something called Sade Sati. So let's talk about that for a second. Sade Sati. So Sade Sati occurs when Saturn transits the sign before your moon, the sign of your moon, and then the sign after your moon. So this whole entire period is 7.5 years. And this is, essentially 7.5 years of tribulations and trials and abandonment and rejection. A lot of negative things usually happen when people run Sade Sati. And the idea is that Saturn is really maturing, maturing you emotionally, and also you're burning off a lot of karma. So if we think about that in the case of the USA, it's right in the hot middle of the Sade Sati. Okay. And it's in the white hot core. So Sade Sati is the most acute when Saturn is going over the moon in your chart. So this is where Saturn is right now. It's over the moon. It's literally at its worst right now in the USA chart. Okay, so we're going to talk about that, but I do want to talk about when it started. If you take a look at when this whole Sade Sati started, it was around January of 2020 when Saturn was in Capricorn. Okay, and you all know what happened a few months after the beginning of January 2020. There was a global issue that went through the globe. And, we could see why this would lead to great difficulty for the country, but not just the USA, but the whole world. Okay. And then right now, as Saturn is going through the fourth house of Aquarius, it's almost like we're dealing with a lot of the after effects of what started in essentially January 2020 in a karmic level. So we're dealing with the aftermath, but in a lot of ways, and this is kind of interesting, in a lot of ways, it's worse right now. Okay. So this is the worst. And you got to think about it. We're not even halfway through this transit yet of Saturn going through Aquarius, not till March 2025. So we still have, half of 2023, all of 2024. This is all going to be indicating what's going on. Now let's talk about this because, the themes of Sade Sati can be things like rejection, abandonment. So, if we think of the USA on the world stage, on the international stage, you could see that maybe over the next couple of years, there may be some sort of a rejection of principles or maybe some sort of like lack of alliances that are taking place. So this is a difficult time for the country. And when we think about the sign of Aquarius represents the masses. So this problem is especially acute for the everyday people. Just like if you read Howard Zinn's book about the history of the United States, it's called A People's History. This is really what it means. So even though the news, it might be telling you things are great, inflation's down, what is it like for the everyday people, the sign of Aquarius, the people that are living there? Okay. Well, it's really difficult for the everyday people. That's what Aquarius represents. And also remember, Aquarius is the natural 11th house. I see massive changes happening in the economy during this time, massive changes in how they essentially distribute wealth. That's going to be happening over the next couple of years. But I do see more difficulty there. And also notice that this is the fourth house. So I see continued difficulty with things like housing, affordability of housing, rents. I see that being very difficult. And in a lot of places, there's a lot of homeless right now with homeless encampments, people living in tents, people living in RVs, people living in van life. This is becoming a very serious matter. It's a very serious matter, and it's actually showing up in most of the major cities within the United States. So it's actually, despite whatever the news may say, karmically and astrologically, it is a really bad time. In a lot of ways, we could think of this as a type of, when I see this chart, it is almost like a Great Depression. Okay. So if you think about the Great Depression, which started in 1929, a lot of ways, there's some things that are mimicking it. Now we have a modern lifestyle, so it may not appear the same. But if you think of this concept of the Hoovervilles, they had these encampments back in the Great Depression. And now we're having this concept of these tents, and we're having this concept of, people living in these RVs, even in Silicon Valley, they're having these long lines of RVs parked. Well, that's difficulty. So I see continued difficulty with this for everyday people. I see the cost of living still being a crisis. So when we talk about, is the American dream dead? For a lot of people, well, we're in the middle of Sade Sati. So, all things arise and then they fall, just like the Buddha said. But during this time frame, from now until March of 2025, we're still going to be in this really acute phase. But really, even until 2027, even when Saturn is going through a Pisces, this is still going to be this issue of some great difficulty. Remember, Sade Sati is for 7.5 years. So I see housing still being a very difficult thing. I see there being more difficulty where everyday people are going to start noticing this more. People are going to be noticing this in their neighborhoods. I was just talking to somebody today, and we were talking about, well, even if inflation cools, and let's say the inflation gets to 2 to 3%, what was the target? I said it's not like a lot of these prices for the goods, like food, is going to go down. It's not like they're going to go ahead and they're going to, uh, bring those prices down. They're pretty much going to stay the same, if not go a little more. And people's wages have not risen at that rate. So we're still in this like really stagnant energy right now. But I feel like this energy, with Saturn going through the Aquarius, it really is awakening the masses. People are really going to be waking up and seeing that, whatever reality this is, this consensus, the consensus reality, which we're all co-creating together, we might not all agree on this reality. Maybe there's some changes that need to be made. Because remember, we're co-creating this reality through what we all agree on. So this is something to realize. We're going to be seeing a lot during the next year. We're going to be seeing more protest. We're going to be seeing more of everyday people. We might even see some anger and things like that because people are feeling oppressed with the cost of living and different things like that. So I see this being an extremely difficult time. Let me know what you all think down below in the comments. I don't even think I need to necessarily make an astrology video on this. I think most people are feeling it right now. And anecdotally, I've talked to a lot of people where they've seen, their business sales have went down quite a bit, and it's been a very difficult time. So anyways, I just want to keep you updated. I do feel like it's still a little bit rough for the next year and a half. So it's important to stay centered, stay focused, keep your, keep your state of consciousness, your state of mind, keep onto those spiritual practices to really keep yourself happy and in a state of peace, so we don't get too bogged down in the material reality of things. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.